AEA staff support some of the best work happening in school buildings all over the state. We're going to take our listeners on the road into these buildings and talk to AEA and district staff about partnerships making a difference for kids. When we think about the art of writing, it's not hard to recall a few dynamic duos. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis famously bounced ideas off of each other over tea. Simon and Garfunkel wrote some of the greatest hits of the 60s and 70s. Today, I sat down with Rich McGrath, a Grant Wood AEA Literacy consultant, who is demonstrating this spirit of teamwork in a writing classroom through the power of co-teaching. All right, so Rich, we're excited for On the Road. This is probably the first one in maybe 12 to 18 months that we've been able to do. We're excited to be with you a little bit this week to talk about all the exciting things that are going on. But why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your background?
Well, thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure to be with you. I've been in education for 35 years, so I've done a little bit of everything. I started as an elementary school teacher. I've taught kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth grades. I've been a literacy consultant for Northwest AEA. I've been a principal of a school in Sioux City for 8 years. It was even a dual language school, which I'm particularly proud of. And then this is my 8th year with Grant Wood. So glad to be here.
Varied background, Rich. That's awesome. I mean, we really draw people from all over. And I think your background, it kind of exemplifies the fact that, hey, we have staff who've come in from all kinds of different walks of the professional life and come together here at Grant Wood. So Rich, let's talk more specifically about your work with Grant Wood AEA. What's your position entail? What does it look like?
Well, I take my lead often with the school. I can engage in data team meetings. I can be a part of their PLCs, working with teachers. I can be part of coaching teachers one-on-one. But we're going to be talking a little bit today about Washington because they're just now implementing a new writing curriculum. And this is particularly interesting to me because not many districts have really took a deep dive in writing. And it really is a need.
So, Rich, it's probably fair to say that no 2 days look alike. Try to personalize your service, and you're working with a number of different districts like most of our consultants are. So what sparked the writing project? Do you know how the district came about thinking, hey, this is something we may want to focus on?
Well, like I said, a lot of districts have struggled with writing instruction, that writing piece. And they chose a curriculum from Nancy Fetzer Writing. She does reading too, but I didn't know anything about her curriculum. Mm-hmm. So I thought, how could I support their writing curriculum if I don't know anything about it? So I asked to be a part of their leadership team, and I asked members of the leadership team if I could co-teach with a couple of the teachers so that I could learn to implement it myself. It's fun. And, one of the joys of my job, I think, is being with the kids. And if I didn't have that, this job would be far less enjoyable.
Rich, that's kind of really one of the reasons I'm so looking forward to our actual work in the district. Actually getting into a classroom and seeing the interaction between our staff, district staff, and students, I think is probably the most powerful model that we probably can use as a service agency, which is really, what we're classified as. All right, Rich, so what do you say? Let's hit the road and go on over to Lincoln Elementary, and we'll talk to a few friends.
Let's go to Lincoln.
Rich and I hit the road to Washington, Iowa. To provide a little context, Rich is working with the leadership team at Lincoln Elementary. This team of teachers learned the curriculum really well and then use what they learned to train the rest of the school. Rich regularly meets with these teachers, but also works directly in the classrooms as a co-teacher. So we're here today at the Washington Community School District with Rich McGrath, our Grant Wood AEA consultant. Rich, why don't you introduce us to your partners today?
Yeah, these are teachers from the Lincoln's Washington School. On your immediate right is Lexa, she's a 4th grade teacher. And then Tessa, she's the instructional coach at Lincoln. And then Chad, he's the 5th grade teacher at Lincoln.
So we have the power team with us today, right? So they're responsible for all the other teachers, right? Kind of the coaches and coaches, right?
Exactly.
You might be asking yourself, what do teachers get out of this co-teaching relationship? I'm happy to say our guests weren't hesitant to sing the praises of Rich and the co-teaching process.
Before we started our unit of writing, I gave them a little pre-assessment and pumped the brakes and was like, we need to go backwards a little bit to figure out sentence structure. So Rich kind of worked with me on that, and he came in, and I loved the fact that when Rich was in my room, I didn't feel like I had roller skates on and was trying to get to everybody across the room. Like there was another adult there that they trusted that they could be vulnerable with their writing and let him examine it and then work together to create more complex sentences.
The other day when we had a chance to model, that we practiced the rehearsing, and then we modeled for them, and then they turned to the rehearsing themselves. And just the buzz in the room was exciting to me, just to hear the kids face to face, person A and person B. That's what a teacher wants to hear in their ears. That's good noise.
So this is a relatively new curriculum, and Lincoln is just introducing it into the classroom this year. I was curious how this method of teaching differs from what they've done in the past.
This is the first year we've had a true leadership team. We always had a professional development team that would deliver learning to the teachers, and then we had a separate team that would write our action plans, and so a lot of that has been merged, which has been helpful.
One of the main things that your prior question was kind of how is it different? Right. In essence, how is this a different writing curriculum than we've ever experienced? And Nancy Fetzer is really known for having chants in the classroom and the mnemonics as a way to have the kids memorize the different components of a piece of writing. So she's got chants that go with that. It's a lot of repetition and speaking before writing. So there's a lot of oral stuff that's going on with the writing piece that I've noticed.
So you're mentioning these chants, so we might be producing maybe Washington's first rap artist. It's possible. Anything's possible, right?
It's less about the curriculum and more about their process. So the process of it really empowers the teachers, I think, as leaders, because these teachers here are those that are on the leadership team are empowered. They're becoming the experts. So even though we shy away from that word, they've already implemented. They've already seen how it works with their children. They see the data. They see the impact of the curriculum on their students. And so that can be conveyed to the rest of the staff when they're training them.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people might be surprised hearing what is Grant Wood AEA's role in the schools. We were like, Rich, can you just present an overview of writing in general? Because we don't want it to be about the curriculum. We want it to be about the instruction. And Rich was like, absolutely. So he was able to kind of do that forefront overview and just we're kind of bossing around you get 45 minutes, overview, research, and you do that, and making it interactive for the staff, so there's buy-in, and it's not just a written curriculum, it's really about quality writing instruction.
We've spent so much time we researched it first before we decided to pick this curriculum, and then we have spent months and months and months going through the curriculum as a team to make sure that it's the best one, and then also scripting lessons and trying it in the classroom before we just say everybody go for it, start teaching it. So I think that might be surprising that we spend a lot of time researching and then implementing before it's just school-wide.
I agree.
That's what I was going to say.
But has there been an impact? I asked the team what the most exciting part of implementing this curriculum and using these strategies has been.
I would say the student growth that I've already seen from where they started, even starting the beginning of the year without implementing the curriculum, and then just the little jump we've had into it, how much better they are at writing and how excited they are that it's writing time.
And to me, I mean, it goes back to kind of my personal beliefs in a lot of the subject areas. This curriculum really leads to discourse with the students. Mm-hmm. Anytime you can have discourse that happens student to student, that's going to be pretty powerful because they're talking with groups of people, they're talking with a partner. That's really powerful for kids. Just to see the student to student interaction it really makes it exciting to me.
So from their pre-assessment to their final assessment with just sentence writing, it was night and day.
Yeah.
So it was awesome to see, and then I was like, yes, this is gonna work, this is awesome. So then implementing a opinion writing piece was gonna be easier.
And I think too, you look at kids' faces, and if kids have that look of they're interested, they're excited, they want to do it, then that really fires you up as a teacher. And especially when you have like 100% of your kids that are really getting into a lesson, you know that, obviously you must be doing something right as a teacher in your delivery of it.
Teachers report that it's fun for students to see two adults interact in a classroom at the same time. And certainly the leadership team teachers were having an impact not only on the students, but also in making the rest of the school more confident.
And also that he's willing, that any Grant Wood staff has been willing to jump in and co-teach with us and give us feedback and answer questions, sometimes answering our questions with their own questions. Just being willing to jump in and try something with us too, because it was brand new for Rich also.
I feel like it's a true partnership.
We love our AEs.
It's kind of funny, some of the things you said, the staff is going to think I paid you to say them. It's interesting.
It's kind of nice when you see results and you see them quickly. Needless to say, I was excited about this process, but I was curious to find out what's next. How will this team move forward with what they've learned?
I feel confident in what I'm doing, and even seeing the transfer of, I know it might seem like a small strategy, but we need to orally rehearse and speak something before we get it down on the paper, and seeing teachers even transfer that not just to writing class, they're doing it and they're responding to their reading, or I know you guys teach science, it's like, let's practice orally rehearsing that, and now let's write it. It's just like a transfer into the writing, we do that in all content.
For the first few months of school, we were doing behind the scenes things, just the writing implementation teachers. And then now we've started to roll some things out to staff. So for the rest of this school year, we have a writing focus in our professional development where we as writing implementation teachers are going to be presenting on how we've implemented it, and then have time with our grade level teams to create lesson plans for further writing units that we have. So definitely through the rest of this year, and I would assume into next year also, we're going to need time to continue the planning and then have the full implementation.
And let's be honest, writing can be difficult to teach because it's messy. And you have 24 kids in your room, there may be 24 levels of writing, honestly. So it's a little different than reading, where we can send 5 to that teacher and 5 to that teacher during smaller time. But in writing, you have a whole group of kids that may be at a different level. So, and for a teacher, that could be daunting. So that's, I think, why we've been treading a little bit slower. It's been beneficial because we just didn't want to throw the whole kit and caboodle at the teachers and say, we're just going to overwhelm you, because we would have pushback. So we want to ease into it gently, show some excitement, show, hey, we're going to have to work at this, because ultimately it's going to benefit the students.
I heard all I needed to hear and have full confidence this team, with the support of Rich, will help shape the next generation of talented writers, and maybe a rap artist or two. Before hitting the road, I grabbed Rich to thank him for the interview.
Rich, that was awesome. What a wonderful group of people to work with.
Yes.
But I want to finish with one question. What drives you to do this work?
Well, it's somewhat selfish. I get my energy source from working with teachers that are excited about teaching kids. I get as much, if not more, out of the relationship than they do.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
Well, it's John Speer. It's Rich McGrath. We're on the road in Washington, Iowa.